My sister called me at 6:12 on a Tuesday morning and told me our mother had died during the night. Before I could say a word, she said the memorial would be Saturday. Mom had left her the house in the lake cabin, and there was no reason for me to drive back to St. Louis, because in her exact words, "You already have your own life, Claire." Mom finally understood that. I looked across my kitchen table. My mother was wearing my old University of Kansas sweatshirt, spreading strawberry jam on a piece of toast. Alive, awake, and staring at my phone. Then my sister lowered her voice and delivered the part she had clearly been saving. Her last words were that she finally knew which daughter really loved her. Mom slowly put the knife down. I had seen my mother scared sick, confused, furious, exhausted, and grieving. I had never seen her face go completely empty before. That was when I knew this wasn't just about a house. I put the phone on speaker. "Tessa," I said, keeping my voice flat. "Tell me what happened." My older sister took a shaky breath. It was her heart. "Evergreen called me around 3 this morning." Mom's eyes snapped toward mine. Evergreen Rehabilitation Center was in Kirkwood, Missouri. Mom had not been there in 10 weeks. "What did they say?" "That it happened quickly." "Who called you?" "A nurse." "Which nurse?" "Oh my God, Claire." Tessa's grief disappeared for half a second. "It always did when somebody asked for details. You're really going to interrogate me right now." I asked for a name. "I don't remember. I was told my mother was dead at 3 in the morning." Our mother, sitting 4 feet away from me, folded her arms. I almost smiled. "Almost." "Were you there?" I asked. "At the end." Mom frowned. I looked at her. She shook her head slowly. "What does that mean?" "It means I got there as soon as I could." "So you saw her?" There was a pause. "Yes." That lie was somehow worse than the first one. Not Mom died. I saw her. Tessa wasn't improvising anymore. She had built a scene in her mind. A dying mother. A faithful daughter. A final moment. She wanted me to see it. Was she conscious? "Claire, stop. I'm asking because you said she spoke to you." Tessa exhaled loudly. "Yes, she was lucid near the end." Mom's fingers tightened around the edge of the table. "What did she say?" I already knew Tessa wanted that question. Her voice softened. "She told me she was tired." Mom stared at the phone. "She told me she was ready to be with Dad." Mom's mouth opened slightly. "She said she was sorry for all the stress she caused me this year." That almost made me laugh. Then Tessa continued. "And she told me not to spend the rest of my life feeling guilty about you." I went still. About me. She knew we hadn't been getting along. Tessa. She said she finally understood that family doesn't mean forcing people to care. Mom's eyes filled. And then she said, "Claire built a life where she doesn't need us. Let her live it." There are lies that make you angry. And there are lies designed to wound someone so precisely that anger comes later. For most of my adult life, being independent had been the nicest insult my family knew how to give me. "Claire's fine. Claire doesn't need help. Claire has her career. Claire lives 240 miles away. Claire understands." Every sentence sounded like praise, until you realized it was also permission to give somebody else more. More attention, more forgiveness, more money, more room, more chances. Now Tessa had taken that old family story and placed it in my mother's mouth as her final message. I looked at Mom. A tear slipped down her cheek. She did not wipe it away. I suddenly understood what my sister was really trying to do. The house was one thing, but she wanted me to believe our mother died disappointed in me. That was the inheritance she wanted to leave me. Not nothing. Shame. "Where is Mom now?" I asked. Tessa sniffed. "The arrangements have already been handled." "What arrangements?" "She wanted a private cremation." Mom mouthed no. "I thought Mom wanted to be buried beside Grandma and Grandpa." She changed her mind. "When?" "When you weren't around." The answer came sharp and immediate. I heard Mark in the background say something. My brother-in-law's voice was too low to understand. Tessa covered the phone for a moment. Then she came back. "We are doing a celebration of life Saturday at Grace Fellowship, 11 o'clock. Then I'll come." Silence. "No." I leaned back. "No." She didn't want that. "What?" "Drama. I'm her daughter. You haven't acted like one." Mom closed her eyes. I forced myself to stay calm. Tessa. No, Claire. You always do this. You show up after the hard part, and suddenly everyone thinks you're the responsible one. What hard part? Everything. What exactly have you been handling for the last 10 weeks? Silence. Mom looked at me. Tessa spoke slowly. Mom was still my responsibility. She was staying with me because you took her. Mom's jaw tightened. She asked to leave Evergreen. She didn't know what she wanted. She knew enough to call me. You manipulated her. I drove her home. You isolated her. She has a phone, which she stopped answering, because she didn't want to talk to you. Tessa's voice rose. That's what you told her. Mom pushed her chair back. I held up a hand. Please. She sat. I said, so you don't want me at the memorial. I think it would be best. For whom? For everyone. Tessa, she sighed. Claire, listen to me. Mom was clear. The house is mine. The cabin is mine. What's left in her savings is mine. She did not want us fighting over things. I haven't asked for anything. Not yet. What is that supposed to mean? You always pretend money doesn't matter to you because you make more than I do. There it was. The real Tessa. Grief had lasted less than 5 minutes. Now we were discussing what she believed I thought about her income. I'm not discussing money. Well, I am. Because I know exactly what you're going to do. You'll walk into that church pretending this is about love. And 3 weeks later, you'll start asking what Dad intended and what Mom promised and what's fair. Mom whispered, "Oh, Tessa." My sister couldn't hear. I could. I watched the woman who had spent 39 years defending my sister listen to her own daughter describe her death like a negotiation. What did Mom supposedly leave you? I asked. All of it. The Kirkwood house. Yes. The Lake place. Yes. And her savings. Yes. And she told you this when, over the last few months, when she was supposedly too confused to make decisions. Another pause. I saw Mom notice it too. Tessa recovered. She had good days. Convenient. Do not do this. I'm asking. You're always asking. That's usually how conversations work. I swear to God, Claire, even when Mom is dead, you have to make everything difficult. I stared at the phone, then at Mom. Her face had changed. The hurt was still there. But something else had arrived. Not revenge. Clarity. I knew that look. She used to give it to children in the school library when one of them was lying badly about who had drawn on a textbook. I decided to feed Tessa what she wanted. My voice softened. Okay. Silence. What? Okay. What does that mean? If that was Mom's decision, okay. Mom stared at me. I held her gaze. Trust me. Tessa sounded suspicious. You're not going to fight. No. You're not coming Saturday. I hesitated deliberately. If Mom really didn't want me there, I don't want to disrespect that. Tessa exhaled. The relief was unmistakable. I'm glad you finally understand. Mom's expression hardened. Tessa continued. I know this hurts. I nearly laughed. Yeah. But maybe this can be a wake-up call. A wake-up call. You've spent your whole life acting like needing people is weakness. That was rich coming from a woman whose car insurance our mother paid until she was 34. I'm sorry things ended this way, she continued. I really am. So am I. That was true. Just stay in Kansas City. Let us handle everything here. How long? What? How long should I stay away? She hesitated. Just until after the weekend. Monday. I looked at Mom. There. That mattered. Not forever. She needed me gone through the weekend. Okay, I said. I'll send you the live stream link. Thank you. And Claire. Yes, please don't make this harder on me. She hung up. For a few seconds, neither Mom nor I spoke. The toaster clicked. A car horn sounded outside. The normal world continued. My mother looked at the phone, then at me. She didn't just say I was dead. Her voice trembled. No, she told you I died angry with you. I reached for her hand. Mom pulled hers away. Not from me. From everything. She stood and walked to the kitchen window. She could have just wanted the house. Mom. She could have lied about the house. Her shoulders began to shake. She didn't have to do that to you. That was when I realized something I would understand more clearly later, even after hearing her own daughter announce her death. My mother's first real heartbreak was what Tessa had tried to do to me. My name is Claire Bennett. I would have told you if this were a story beginning at a normal place. I was 35, lived in Kansas City, and worked as a physical therapist at a regional rehabilitation hospital. My job involved helping people get back pieces of their lives that had suddenly become difficult. Walking across a room, getting into a car, standing long enough to make breakfast. I liked measurable progress. 3 steps today, 6 tomorrow, 1 more degree of motion, 5 more pounds of weight. Families were harder. There was no chart for being the daughter everybody assumed would be fine. No test for how long resentment could sit quietly before turning into a permanent part of your personality. My mother, June Bennett, was 68 and had spent 31 years as an elementary school librarian in the St. Louis suburbs. She wasn't rich, none of us were. She owned the 3-bedroom brick house in Kirkwood, where Tessa and I had grown up, and a small cabin near Table Rock Lake that my father had bought cheap in the late 90s and spent 20 years repairing badly. The house was probably worth enough now to tempt someone under financial pressure. The cabin was worth less but carried more emotional weight. Neither was a mansion. Neither justified what my sister had just done, which meant the story was not really about value. It was about entitlement. Tessa had always been better at needing things than I was. 4 years older, loud, funny, beautiful, without seeming to work at it. She had the kind of personality that created immediate loyalties. Teachers remembered her. Neighbors invited her inside. Grocery store clerks learned her name. I was the quiet one. At 10, I organized my colored pencils by length. At 14, I learned to change a tire because Dad said being stranded is only romantic in country songs. At 17, I knew how to file my own tax return. None of those things made me better than Tessa, but our family gradually treated competence as if it were immunity. If I succeeded, no celebration was necessary because Claire always does well. If Tessa succeeded, everyone exhaled. When she barely graduated high school, Mom threw a backyard party with 40 people. When I graduated college with honors, Mom came. Tessa did not. She had a headache. Mom explained it before I asked. She's going through a difficult time. That sentence could have been engraved over our front door. Tessa is going through a difficult time. When she dropped out of community college, difficult time. When she left her first serious boyfriend and moved home, difficult time. When she borrowed $2,000 from Dad and never repaid it, difficult time. When she screamed at Mom during Thanksgiving because the turkey was late, difficult time. When she forgot my 28th birthday and then cried because I said I was hurt, difficult time. My mother loved us both. I believe that completely. But she feared Tessa's pain more than mine. Because mine was quieter. Dad noticed. I didn't always know what to do about it, but he noticed. His name was Walter Bennett. He worked 37 years as an HVAC technician and could repair nearly anything except his own lawnmower, which became a yearly family joke. He loved Mom in a practical way. Coffee made before she woke, gas in her car, a blanket brought without asking. He loved Tessa openly and argued with her constantly. He loved me more quietly because I made it easy. That became its own mistake. Once when I was 22, I overheard Mom and Dad arguing after Tessa asked for money again. "You keep putting cushions everywhere she might fall," Dad said. "She's struggling. She's always struggling. She needs us. So does Claire." Mom lowered her voice. "Claire is fine," Dad answered. "That doesn't mean she doesn't notice." I stood in the hallway listening. Then I walked back upstairs before they knew I was there. I thought about that conversation often, especially after Dad got pancreatic cancer. He lasted 14 months. During those 14 months, everybody's roles became even sharper. Mom became the caregiver. Tessa became the grieving daughter in public. I became useful. Every Friday after work, I drove from Kansas City to St. Louis. I arrived around 9 or 10 at night. I cooked, changed sheets, helped Dad shower when he got too weak, organized medication, took him to appointments when Mom was exhausted. Tessa visited too. I will never erase that just because she later hurt us. She loved our father. She sat with him, made him laugh, brought his favorite frozen custard. But she also posted almost every visit. Dad smiling weakly beside her, holding his hand. "Cherish your parents. My hero. Family over everything." Hundreds of comments told her what an incredible daughter she was. Nobody knew I was asleep in the guest room because I had been awake with Dad until 3. At the time, I told myself it didn't matter. Dad knew. Mom knew. I knew. What more did I need? more than I admitted. After Dad died, Mom struggled. Tessa turned her grief outward. I turned mine into work. Mom remained in the house. Dad's faded Cardinals had stayed on a hook near the garage. His old stainless travel mug stayed in the cabinet. His workbench remained cluttered with screws, electrical tape, tiny boxes of parts, and 3 flashlights that probably hadn't worked since the Obama administration. Mom knew Dad was dead. She wasn't preserving the room because she expected him back. She simply believed you didn't have to throw away evidence of love to prove you accepted loss. That mattered later. The problem with Tessa really accelerated after Mom's hip replacement. The surgery itself went well. Then Mom developed a urinary tract infection, became dehydrated, and reacted badly to pain medication. Within 2 days, she was confused. Not mildly. Terrifyingly. She asked me where Dad was. She insisted she needed to pick us up from school. She tried to leave the hospital at 1 in the morning. Tessa called me sobbing. Something is wrong with Mom. I know. This is dementia. Maybe. No, Claire, you don't understand. I work with older patients every day. And I'm physically here. That was Tessa's favorite weapon. Geography. She lived 15 minutes from Mom. Therefore, anything I did from Kansas City counted less. Mom's doctor suspected post-operative delirium and said we needed time. Tessa heard only the part that frightened her. When Mom was discharged from the hospital, she needed rehabilitation. That was reasonable. Evergreen was 10 minutes from the house and had a decent therapy program. I agreed. What I did not agree to was Tessa describing Mom to the facility as if she had been declining mentally for years. I learned that when I arrived the next weekend. Mom was on a secure memory care floor. I found her sitting near a window in a cardigan that belonged to someone else. Her hair was greasy. Her lunch was untouched. She saw me and immediately started crying. Take me home. I crouched beside her. What happened? Tessa says I can't. You're here for therapy. They won't let me downstairs. I spoke with an aide, then the nurse, then a supervisor. Nobody was cruel. That's important. The real world is rarely divided into monsters and heroes as cleanly as revenge stories make it seem. The staff believed they were protecting Mom. Tessa had told them June had become increasingly confused, wandered, forgot medications, left burners on. Some details were true during the delirium. Some were exaggerated. Some simply weren't true. Mom had been prescribed a sedating medication at night because she was agitated. I asked what that meant. Anaida hesitated. She keeps asking when she can leave. That sentence made me furious. Over the next 9 days, I rearranged my patients, used vacation time, drove back and forth, coordinated with Mom's regular doctor, and got her reassessed. The infection was gone. The delirium cleared. Her cognition returned. She still needed therapy. She did not need a locked unit. Tessa fought me on discharge. We stood in Evergreen's parking lot beside my Subaru while she smoked a cigarette. She claimed she had quit 6 years earlier. You're making a huge mistake. Mom wants to leave. She doesn't understand the risk. She understands enough. You think because you're a physical therapist you know everything. No, you always do this. Do what? Walk in with your calm voice and make everybody else look stupid. I stared at her. Tessa, this is not about you. Everything is never about me when you're around. What does that even mean? Her eyes filled. You have no idea what I've been handling. Then tell me. Mom calling me because she's lonely. Okay, the yard. I paid the lawn guy. That's not the same as being here. Fine. Her groceries. She drives. She shouldn't. Her doctor says she can. You don't see her. I visit twice a month. I'm here all the time. How many times have you visited Evergreen this week? Tessa's mouth tightened. I knew the answer. Once. She changed the subject. Where are you taking her? Kansas City. For how long? A few weeks. You work. I can adjust. She doesn't belong there. Mom decides where she belongs. Tessa laughed sharply. She barely knew her own name 2 weeks ago. And now she does. You are going to ruin everything. At the time I thought she meant the care plan. I remembered those words after the fake death call. You are going to ruin everything. Mom came home with me. Nothing dramatic. No lawyers. No nighttime escape. She got dressed. Signed out. Hugged an aide she liked. Walked through the front door leaning on a cane. Tessa knew. She simply refused to come. The first week in Kansas City, Mom slept more than she was awake. The second week, she started criticizing my coffee. The third week, she made eggs. The fourth, she asked if the neighbor above me wore bowling shoes inside the apartment. By week 6, she was walking around the block. By week 8, she could shower independently. By week 10, she was arguing with contestants on Jeopardy and accusing me of buying bad tomatoes. She was herself. We did not hide her from Tessa. Mom simply stopped answering her calls. Tessa sent 2 messages. Hope you're doing well. Then, let me know when you're ready to be reasonable. That was it. 10 weeks. No visit. No drive to Kansas City. No flowers. No FaceTime. No I miss you. Nothing. Then Tuesday morning, Mom died. According to Tessa. After the call, Mom sat at my kitchen table until almost 8. I made more coffee. Neither of us drank it. Eventually, she said, I want to go home. To St. Louis. Yes. When? Today. Mom, I want my house. Tessa hasn't actually taken it. Mom looked at me. She took my death. I'd like to see what else she took. We packed. Mom refused to fly. She said airports made her feel trapped. So we drove east across Missouri. For the first hour, the car was quiet. Then Mom began telling stories about the house. She always did that when she was anxious. The first Christmas she and Dad spent there. The time the basement flooded. The yellow wallpaper Grandma Bennett installed upside down and defended for 19 years. The summer Tessa broke the dining room window with a softball and convinced 6-year-old me to tell Dad a bird did it. By Columbia, my phone had started buzzing. Cousin Lindsay. I just heard. I'm so sorry about Aunt June. Then Aunt Paula. Call me when you can. Then Mrs. Gardner, Mom's next-door neighbor. Claire, I don't even know what to say. Mom stared at the road ahead. Facebook. I checked. Tessa had posted. A black and white photograph showed her hugging Mom at Christmas 4 years earlier. The caption began, Last night I lost my best friend. Mom held out her hand. No. Give me the phone. Mom, I'm dead. I'd like to read the announcement. I handed it over. Tessa had written a long tribute about walking beside Mom through her decline. She thanked people for supporting her during months of caregiving. She said Mom taught her the meaning of showing up. Then came the line aimed at me. Some people love you from a distance. Others stay when staying is hard. No name, no need. At the bottom was a fundraiser. Help us honor June Bennett. Goal 10,000. Memorial expenses, cremation costs, and preserving the Bennett family home, according to June's final wishes. Already raised $460. Mom stared at the amount. They're giving her money. Yes. For cremating me. Apparently. I'm not even expensive dead. I laughed despite myself. She didn't. She handed back the phone. I want to see the house before she sees me. We reached St. Louis a little after 1. Mom told me to park down the street, 3 houses away. The Kirkwood neighborhood looked exactly as it always had. Mature maples, brick ranches, wind chimes, trim lawns, a UPS truck blocking half the road. Then I saw Mom's driveway. There was a dumpster beside the garage. A white pickup sat in front. 2 men carried boxes from the house. Mom said nothing. Then I noticed the real estate sign. Coming soon. Not for sale. Not yet. Just enough. Preparation. Mom leaned forward. What does that say? I knew she wasn't asking about the sign. She was looking at the mailbox. Dad had installed the post himself 20 years earlier. A brass plate had always read, June and Walter Bennett. After Dad died, Mom removed Walter's first name but kept the family name, June Bennett. Now the brass plate was gone. In its place was a clean black plaque. The Dorseys, Mark's last name. Mom did not react to the real estate sign. She did not react to the dumpster. She reacted to that. My name. Her voice was almost inaudible. I looked at her. They took my name off my house. I reached over. She pulled her hand away and opened the car door. Mom. She stopped. Across the street, Mark walked out carrying a coffee mug. Dad's stainless travel mug. Mom saw it. Then one of the men rolled Dad's red toolbox toward the truck. Mom opened the door again. I grabbed her wrist. Wait. Let go. 10 minutes. They're throwing away his things. I know. Claire. If we walk over there now, Tessa will spend the next week telling everybody her unstable mother showed up screaming after Claire manipulated her. Mom glared at me. She said I'm dead. I know. I don't need a strategy. I do. That was the first time I lost patience. Mom stared. I immediately felt guilty. Then she said fine. We watched. Mark pointed toward the dumpster. A mover lifted Dad's old work boots and tossed them inside. Mom made a sound. Not crying. Something deeper. I nearly opened my own door. Then Mrs. Gardner appeared from next door. She crossed the yard quickly and confronted Mark. We couldn't hear the words. We didn't need to. She pointed at the house. Then the dumpster. Then toward the street. Mark shrugged. Tessa came out. Black leggings. Large sunglasses. Perfect hair. She hugged Mrs. Gardner. Mrs. Gardner stayed stiff. Then she walked away. I lowered my window. Mrs. Gardner. She turned. Then saw Mom. The grocery bag in her hand hit the sidewalk. June. Mom lifted her fingers. Hello, Evelyn. Mrs. Gardner covered her mouth. Oh my God. She hurried to the passenger window. You're alive. Apparently the news hasn't reached everybody. Mrs. Gardner started crying. She reached through the window and grabbed Mom's hand. I knew something was wrong. What happened, I asked. Tessa and Mark came Sunday. Sunday. Mrs. Gardner nodded. 2 days before the fake death call. She said June had taken another turn. Said she wouldn't be coming home. Mom stared. Yesterday they brought the dumpster. Yesterday. She told me they were simplifying things. Mrs. Gardner looked at Mom. I asked where you were. What did she say? That Claire had put you somewhere near Kansas City. Mom's mouth tightened. She told me nobody could visit because it upset you. I felt my pulse increase. Did she say Mom was dead yesterday? No. When? This morning. There it was. Tessa had started clearing the house while Mom was supposedly still alive. The death story came after. Mom whispered, so that wasn't the plan. I understood what she meant. Death wasn't the original plan. The house was. Mrs. Gardner continued. There's a photographer inside. For the listing. I think so. And those men, mostly hauling things away. What things? She hesitated. June. What? Walter's garage stuff. Mom opened the door. This time I followed. We crossed the street. Mrs. Gardner came with us. The dumpsters smelled like cardboard dust, grass clippings, and hot metal. Dad's boots sat near the top. One sole had separated. They were objectively garbage. Mom picked them up like they were a family heirloom. Underneath was his faded work jacket, a cracked wooden picture frame, their 25th anniversary photo, glass broken across Dad's face. I reached in, careful. Mom touched the photograph. Then she saw something else, a thin strip of painted wood. She frowned. I recognized it before she did. The pantry trim. Dad had marked our heights there every birthday. Tessa Q. Slayer 5. Tessa Truthin. Slayer Time. Years in pencil. Dad's handwriting. Someone had removed the trim. Probably because it looked old. Probably because a realtor wanted clean walls. Mom held it with both hands. I felt something inside me snap. Before I knew what I was doing, I was crossing the lawn toward the front door. Mom called my name. I kept walking. I had spent decades being reasonable. Decades letting Tessa cry first. Decades telling myself being angry wouldn't help. Dad's work boots. His photograph. Our heights cut out of the pantry. My mother's name removed from her own mailbox while she was still alive. I reached the porch. My hand closed around the door handle. Mom grabbed my arm. Claire, move. No, I am done. I know. She threw away Dad. I know. She told me you died hating me. Mom's eyes filled. I know. I want her to see us. Not yet. Why? Because I want to know how far she goes when nobody stops her. That stopped me. Mom held the strip of pantry trim against her chest. I have interrupted consequences for Tessa her whole life. Her voice shook. I want to hear every lie before she sees me. I looked through the front window. Tessa was inside directing the photographer, laughing. She looked happy. I hated her in that moment. Actually hated her. Not dramatic dislike. Not sisterly resentment. I wanted to walk inside and destroy every peaceful expression on her face. Mom saw it. Claire. What? Don't become cruel because she is. I stepped back. It took everything I had. We returned to the car. Mrs. Gardner promised not to say anything. She also promised to pull anything recognizable out of the dumpster before the truck came. We checked into a modest hotel 15 minutes away. 2 queen beds. Brown carpet. Air conditioner too loud. Mom put Dad's boots beside her suitcase. That evening, Mrs. Gardner arrived carrying 3 boxes. She had saved what she could. Dad's Cardinals cap. Mom's wedding album. Grandma Bennett's tablecloth. Dad's old tackle box. A recipe box, 3 framed family photographs, then one more. It showed Dad with both arms around Tessa and me at Table Rock Lake. I was 12. Tessa 16. Mom turned the frame over. Why was this in the trash? I knew. Because I was in it. The thought bothered me enough that I looked at other saved photographs. Several family pictures were missing. The ones with Tessa alone remained inside the house. The ones with me had been boxed or discarded. Tessa wasn't only preparing the property, she was preparing a history. That night, Aunt Paula called. Mom sat beside me on the hotel bed. I answered. "Oh, Claire." Aunt Paula sounded breathless with sympathy. "I'm so sorry." "Thank you. Tessa said you might not come Saturday." "I haven't decided. I think that may be wise." Mom lifted her eyebrows. "Why?" Paula sighed. "I don't want to get between you girls. You're telling me not to attend my mother's memorial. I'm trying to protect everyone." "From what?" "Claire." "What?" Tessa said June was very hurt at the end. Mom stiffened. "About you." Silence. "She said your mother kept asking to come home." "That was true." "Home." "Not Tessa." "She said you refused." "That's not true. I wasn't there." "No, but Tessa was." Mom looked away. That sentence. Again. Geography as morality. "How many times did Tessa visit Mom in Kansas City?" Paula hesitated. "I don't know." 0. "Claire, this is not the time to keep score." "Of course." Scorekeeping became ugly only when the numbers appeared. Paula continued. "Your sister has carried more than you realize." "Like what?" "June's care, the house, Mark's business, those kids." Mark had 2 teenage children from his first marriage. They spent alternating weekends with him. Tessa often referred to herself publicly as their bonus mom. They mostly called her Tessa. "I know she's under pressure. She always felt like you judged her." Mom whispered, "Oh, for heaven's sake." Paula couldn't hear. "I'm not discussing childhood." "Maybe you should." "I'm trying to understand why you think I shouldn't attend." "Because June apparently asked for peace." I looked at Mom. She shook her head. "Did she ask you personally?" "No." "Then you heard that from Tessa." Paula became defensive. "Why would she lie about something like this?" Mom closed her eyes. That question hurt more than I expected. Because Aunt Paula knew Tessa. She knew all of us. Yet the idea of Tessa inventing a story still seemed less plausible than the idea of Claire abandoning her mother. I said, "I have to go. Please don't make a scene Saturday." "I won't." That was true. Tessa had already built the scene. Friday morning, Mrs. Gardner sent another picture. The new mailbox plaque. "Closer." The Dorseys. Below the photograph she wrote. "They took June's brass plate completely off. I have it." Mom stared. She did not cry. "That's what did it," she said. "What?" "The name." I understood. Money was abstract. Furniture could be replaced. Even Dad's boots, painful as they were, had no objective value. But her name disappearing from the front of her own house. That was the entire betrayal compressed into 10 letters. Tessa and Mark had started thinking of June in the past tense. That afternoon, Mom and I went shopping for something to wear Saturday. She chose a navy dress. Nothing dramatic. No white power suit. No giant hat. No theatrical entrance. Comfortable black shoes. Her small gold cross. The pearl earrings Dad had bought her on their 25th anniversary were missing. Tessa had them. Mom noticed that while going through the rescued jewelry box. She took the pearls. "You sure?" "I wore them at your college graduation." I remembered. Small ivory pearls. Gold backs. Dad joked they cost more than his first car. Not true. Probably. Mom stared at the empty slot. Then closed the box. "Good. Good. She can wear them Saturday." I looked at her. Mom didn't explain. That night, Tessa posted a photograph from Grace Fellowship. Memorial display setup. White flowers. A framed portrait of Mom. A slideshow screen. At the bottom, "Tomorrow we celebrate the most selfless woman I ever knew." Mom scrolled through the images, then stopped. "Claire." "What?" She handed me the phone. One picture showed a memorial board. Mom, Dad, Tessa, Mark, the stepkids, cousins, Christmases, lake trips, school events. Then I saw a photograph I recognized. Dad's 62nd birthday. The original had Dad standing between both daughters. In Tessa's display, the left side was cropped. My entire body was gone. Part of Dad's arm disappeared with me. I stared. Something cold moved through my chest. She cropped me out. Mom said nothing. I zoomed in. She had. Not accidentally. The photograph was framed around Dad and Tessa. I suddenly had to leave the hotel room. Mom called my name. I walked into the hallway, then into the stairwell. I sat halfway down the stairs and cried. Not quietly, not gracefully. I cried like someone had finally found the exact door to a room I had kept locked for 20 years. Mom came down 5 minutes later. She sat beside me. I wiped my face. This is stupid. No, it's a picture. No, she has done worse things this week. Yes. Why does this hurt? Mom looked straight ahead. Because she went backward. What? She didn't only remove you from my ending. Mom's voice was soft. She removed you from our past. That was exactly it. Tessa was not satisfied with being the daughter who stayed. She needed me to have left. Not just geographically, emotionally, historically. She needed the family record to support her claim. I said I hate her. Mom did not correct me. That mattered. A year earlier she would have. Don't say that about your sister. You don't mean it. Family is family. Instead she said I understand. We sat there until my breathing slowed. Then Mom stood. Tomorrow she gives the picture back. I laughed through the last tears. The picture, all of them. Saturday morning Grace Fellowship was nearly full by 10:30. Mom remained at the hotel with Mrs. Gardner. I arrived alone. The lobby looked exactly like a small town celebration of life should. Coffee, cookies, white flowers, photo boards, former co-workers hugging, old neighbors whispering. No casket, no urn. Tessa had told everyone the cremation had been private. That solved the practical problem she needed solved. No body, no funeral home, no questions until Monday. I saw the timing now. She did not need the lie to survive forever. She only needed me to stay in Kansas City through the weekend, long enough for the memorial, long enough to establish publicly that Mom had wanted her in charge, long enough to continue preparing the house, long enough maybe to have a listing agreement ready Monday morning. My cousin Lindsay approached. Claire, she hugged me stiffly. I didn't think you were coming. I changed my mind. Her eyes drifted toward Tessa. Does she know? She does now. Tessa had seen me. She was wearing a fitted black dress. Mom's pearl earrings hung from her ears. My anger became almost physical. She crossed the lobby. What are you doing here? I came to remember Mom. I asked you not to. I remember. She asked you not to. That's what you said. Her eyes narrowed. Do not start. I haven't. You can't come in here and make this about yourself. I looked past her at the photograph where I had been cropped out. Wouldn't dream of it. She followed my eyes. For 1 second something flickered across her face. Not guilt. Annoyance that I noticed. Then she softened. People were watching. Claire. She touched my arm. I know you're hurting. I removed her hand. Don't. Her expression hardened again. You weren't here. I'm here now. Exactly. She leaned closer. You always arrive after everyone else has done the work. Which work? Mom. What about her? Appointments, the house, everything. You haven't seen her in 10 weeks. Tessa's eyes flashed. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Keep your voice down. I am. That condescending thing you do is worse than yelling. I almost smiled. Then she whispered, the house is not yours. I didn't ask. The cabin isn't yours. I didn't ask. You need to understand that. I understand you're very concerned about property at your mother's memorial. Her face reddened. Mom chose me. There it was. Not grief. Victory. You have your career. You have money. You have Kansas City. You left. I moved. Same thing. Not to Mom. Tessa gave me that small smile I hated. You really don't know what she said near the end. I looked at her. No, tell me again. She said she wished she had stopped chasing you years ago. I felt it, even knowing it was fake. She said loving you always felt like asking permission. Tessa was good when she wanted to hurt someone. Maybe because she knew our shared history. She knew the exact shape of my insecurity. I let her finish. She knew who stayed. Then she added, and once everything is settled Monday, maybe you can finally move on. Monday. There. I stared at her. What happens Monday? Her face changed. Nothing. You said once everything is settled Monday. I mean the memorial. The memorial is today. Claire. What happens Monday? Stop. What happens Monday, Tessa? She leaned toward me. Her whisper was furious. You do not get to walk away for 15 years and then come back because there's something worth inheriting. I almost laughed. I've been gone 15 years. You know what I mean? No, I think I finally do. She stepped back. Sit in the back. I'm sitting with family. You are unbelievable. So I've heard. I walked inside and sat in the front row. The service began at 11. Mom's former principal spoke first. He told a story about her keeping granola bars in the library for students who arrived hungry. A retired teacher talked about Mom staying late during a snowstorm with a child whose father was stuck on the highway. Mrs. Gardner was supposed to speak. Tessa announced she was too emotional. The truth was Mrs. Gardner had refused. Mark went next. I had never liked Mark, but until that month I would not have called him cruel, selfish, weak, a little vain. Yes, but not cruel. Now I understood his role more clearly. Tessa's entitlement had existed long before him. Mark simply fed it whenever it benefited him. During their marriage, he often made little comments. Claire has the good job. Claire doesn't have kids. Claire's doing fine. Why should everything always be split 50-50? Your mom's never going back to that cabin. That house is too much for one woman. Little statements, reasonable on the surface. Each one moved Tessa half an inch closer to believing family assets were being unfairly withheld from her. At the microphone, Mark spoke about helping June through a challenging final season. I almost stood up right then. I said, she cared deeply about the home she built with Walter and Tessa, and I are committed to honoring that. That was when I understood the public narrative. Not sell, preserve. They needed everybody to believe keeping the house under Tessa's control fulfilled Mom's wishes. If it got sold later, there would be an explanation. Taxes, repairs, practicality. But first they needed legitimacy. Mark returned to the front row. Then Tessa stood. She walked to the microphone wearing our mother's pearls. The room quieted immediately. My mother believed family was everything. True. She believed a home was more than walls. True. She believed love meant showing up. True. Tessa looked directly at me. And she taught me that sometimes the people we love leave long before they are actually gone. There it was. The audience shifted. Aunt Paula lowered her eyes. My jaw tightened. Tessa continued. The final months were hard. Her voice cracked. Mom had good days and bad days. Sometimes she knew exactly where she was. Sometimes she didn't. A technically truthful statement stretched until it supported a lie. She was scared. True. She worried about the house. Probably. She worried that everything she and Dad built would disappear. Possibly. She would hold my hand and say, "Promise me this family won't lose its home." False, but believable. That was the danger. The best lies wear real clothes. Tessa took a breath, and on her final night she told me she was ready. I stared. She told me Dad was waiting. Mom was 3 miles away, probably drinking hotel coffee. She told me she had spent too much of her life begging people to stay. Tessa's eyes met mine again. I told her not to talk like that. I told her both her daughters loved her. Generous Tessa, even in fiction. But Mom smiled and said, "Some people love you and still leave. You have to let them." I heard someone crying behind me. Tessa placed a hand over her heart. Then she said something I will carry for the rest of my life. She paused perfectly. She said, "You stayed." I closed my eyes. And I did. Another pause. I stayed until she took her final breath. A woman behind me whispered, "Bless her." Tessa wiped one tear. I know my sister is here today. Every head turned. I did not. And I want to say something publicly. She looked at me with saintly sorrow. Claire, Mom did not die angry with you. Interesting. A softer revision. Maybe she sensed the original version was too cruel for the room. She understood that you had built a life elsewhere. I stared back. She asked me not to blame you. There were murmurs of sympathy. "I forgive you too." That almost made me laugh. Then Tessa gave the sentence that made everything after it inevitable. Mom died peacefully knowing the daughter who stayed was holding her hand. A voice came from the back of the sanctuary. "That's strange." Tessa froze. Every head turned. My heart slammed against my ribs even though I knew what was coming. Mom stood inside the open church doors. Navy dress, black shoes, gold cross. Mrs. Gardner a few steps behind her. No dramatic music, no security, no white suit, no cane raised in victory. Just June Bennett. Alive. Mom looked down the aisle at Tessa. Because I don't remember dying. Nobody moved. Aunt Paula made a sound somewhere between a gasp and a scream. The pastor removed his glasses. Cousin Lindsay stood with both hands over her mouth. Someone in the third row whispered Jesus. Tessa did not move. Her face lost color. Mark turned toward the side door. Mom began walking down the aisle, slowly. Her hip was much better but not perfect. That made the moment more powerful. She was not a superhero. She was a 68-year-old woman walking into a room where her own daughter had just narrated her death. People reached toward her. Mom barely noticed. Her eyes remained on Tessa. When she reached the front, Tessa whispered, "Mom." "Yes." "What?" Mom's gaze moved upward, to the pearl earrings. Her expression changed. "Before you finish burying me, take my earrings off." The room went completely silent. Tessa instinctively touched one pearl. "Mom, take them off." Her hands began shaking. She removed the first earring. Then the second. Mom held out her palm. Tessa placed them there. Dad's pearls. Mom closed her fingers around them. Only then did she look at me. I stood. She nodded once. I joined her. Tessa finally found her voice. "What are you doing here?" Mom blinked. "At my memorial." "That's not what I meant." "I know. Claire brought you." "I came in a car." "You know what I mean." Mom looked around the sanctuary. "These people were told I died." Tessa swallowed. "There's an explanation." "I'd love one." "Mom, please." "No, you had the microphone." Mom glanced at the pastor. "May I?" He handed it to her without a word. Mom faced the congregation. "I'm sorry." Several people immediately protested. "No, June. You don't have to." Mom raised one hand. "I do. Some of you gave money." She looked at the photo displays. "Some of you mourned me." Then back at Tessa. "And apparently some of you were told things about my younger daughter that I did not say." Aunt Paula looked down. Mom continued. "I did have hip surgery." "Yes." "I did become confused afterward." "Yes." "I was frightened." "Yes." "But I recovered." She looked directly at Tessa. "I have not been at Evergreen in 10 weeks. A murmur moved through the room. "I have been staying with Claire in Kansas City." Tessa stepped forward. "You were not yourself." Mom turned. "I am myself now." "You were manipulated." "I asked to leave." "Because she convinced you." "She didn't." Tessa's composure cracked. "You don't understand what she does." Mom stared. "What does Claire do?" "She makes you think." "Stop." Mom lowered the microphone. For the first time her voice sounded tired. "Stop making my decisions belong to somebody else." Tessa froze. Mom raised the microphone again. "I chose to leave Evergreen." She looked at the audience. "My regular doctor knew. The facility knew. Tessa knew." Heads turned. Tessa shook hers. "Mom, I did not ask for a cremation." More murmurs. "I did not ask Claire to stay away." Aunt Paula began crying. "I did not tell anyone the house belonged to Tessa." Mark moved slightly. Mom noticed. "And I certainly did not tell my daughter I died disappointed in her." That was the moment I almost broke again. I looked down. Mom touched my arm. Then she continued. "I also did not ask anyone to remove my husband's belongings from my home." The room changed. People looked uncomfortable now, not entertained, not fascinated. Ashamed. Mom said my husband's work boots were in a dumpster Tuesday. Aunt Paula whispered, "Oh, June." My grandchildren's drawings were boxed. She corrected herself. My daughter's childhood things. Then, my name was removed from my mailbox. Tessa finally snapped. It was temporary. Everyone turned toward her. Mom stared. Tessa realized too late. The realtor said the front should be updated. The realtor. Silence. Mom asked gently. "Why was there a realtor in my house before I was supposedly dead?" Tessa's face tightened. Mark stepped forward. "June, this isn't the place." Mom looked at him. "You held my memorial here." Nobody spoke. Mark had no answer. Mom turned to Tessa. "How long?" "What? How long were you going to let Claire believe I was dead?" Tessa's eyes darted around. "Mom, can we please do this privately?" "No. You're humiliating me." Mom's face broke for half a second. Then steadied. "You told hundreds of people I died." Tessa began crying. I panicked. "About what?" "Everything." "What does that mean?" "Mark's business. The house. You disappearing. Claire taking you away." "I wasn't dead." "I know." The words exploded out. The entire church froze. Tessa covered her mouth. "Too late." Mom stared. "You knew." Tessa shook her head. "I mean, you knew I was alive." I knew you were alive when you wrote the Facebook post. Silence. When you created the fundraiser, Tessa Mark whispered. She turned on him. Shut up. Mom's voice became very quiet. How long? Tessa wiped her face. I didn't need her to believe it forever. Nobody moved. I asked, how long, Tessa? She looked at me. There was hatred in her eyes. And fear. Then the truth. Until Monday. The room seemed to inhale. Why Monday, I asked. She said nothing. I already knew. The house. Tessa's jaw clenched. You have no idea how complicated it was. What happened Monday? The listing. Mom closed her eyes. There it was. Not an elaborate murder scheme. Not a plan to fool the government forever. Something smaller. More desperate. More believable. Tessa needed one weekend. One memorial. One public narrative. One absent sister. By Monday the house would be prepared, photographed, and moving toward the market. Perhaps she expected Mom to remain in Kansas City. Perhaps she expected to later claim there had been confusion about the death announcement. Perhaps she never thought that far. Desperate people often plan only up to the moment they get what they want. Mom asked, you told Claire I was dead so she wouldn't come back before you listed my house. Tessa sobbed. You weren't using it. The words came out before she could stop them. Silence. Mom's face changed. Tessa knew immediately. Mom, I didn't mean. You weren't using it anymore. That was the sentence. The entire story in 6 words. Not dead. Not incapable. Not absent. Unused. Like furniture. Like a cabin. Like money. My mother looked at her daughter. I watched something inside her finally break cleanly instead of bending again. I live there. I know. No. Mom shook her head. I don't think you do. Tessa's shoulders shook. Mom handed the microphone back to the pastor. The memorial is over. Then she looked around. I appreciate everyone who came. A few people laughed nervously. Mom didn't. And anyone who gave money will get it back. Tessa looked up. Some of it is gone. Mom stared. How much? This is not the time. How much? Mark answered. About 3,000. Mom looked at him. For what? Deposits. On my memorial. Silence. Mom nodded slowly. Claire. Yes. Take me home. We walked out. Nobody applauded. I'm glad they didn't. This wasn't a victory lap. It was a mother leaving the room where she had watched her own daughter turn her into a resource. People followed us into the lobby. Aunt Paula grabbed Mom. June, I am so sorry. Mom hugged her, then pulled back. You could have called. Paula cried harder. I should have. Yes, that was new. My mother did not say, it's okay. It wasn't. Cousin Lindsay hugged me. I believed her. I know. I'm sorry. I know. Tessa remained inside. Mark came out 10 minutes later. He tried to approach us. Mom stopped him with one look. Not today. He stepped back. We drove home. The black plaque remained beside the mailbox. The Dorseys. Mom stood on the sidewalk staring at it. Then she reached up. Pulled. One screw came loose. Mom, I know. She tried again. The plaque bent. Mrs. Gardner arrived with a screwdriver. I thought you might need this. Mom almost smiled. Together the two women removed the Dorseys. Mrs. Gardner brought Mom's brass nameplate from her house. June Bennett. The screw holes still matched. I helped put it back. Mom stepped away, looked at it, then started crying. Not during the memorial. Not when Tessa confessed. At the mailbox. My name. I hugged her. Yeah, it's stupid. No, it's a piece of metal. It's yours. She nodded against my shoulder. Yes. Inside the house looked worse in daylight. The rooms had been staged. Dad's recliner gone. Books reduced. Family photographs rearranged. Mom's school awards packed. Kitchen counters cleared. Refrigerator magnets removed. Every sign of ordinary life had been stripped away. It looks like nobody lives here, Mom whispered. That was the point. Tessa and Mark arrived 20 minutes later. Tessa walked inside without knocking. Mom turned. Give me the key. Tessa stared. What? The house key. Mom, now. This is ridiculous. Key. Tessa pulled it from her purse and slapped it onto the counter. You're acting like I robbed you. Mom looked around. Did you use my debit card? Tessa froze. I noticed. Mom did too. What? Did you? For what? I asked first. Tessa looked at Mark. His reaction told me enough. Mom's face changed. We'll deal with that later. Mom, please listen. No, We were trying to fix this. What is this? Our lives. Mom stared. Tessa gestured around the house. You have all this. A house. Equity. There it was. Not memories. Equity. Mark's company is barely staying open. That is unfortunate. People work for him. I know. Families. And you're sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars. Mom's mouth opened slightly. Literally sitting. You know what I mean. I'm trying to. I'll barely use the upstairs. I'm 68, not a houseplant. You shouldn't even be living alone. I decide that with my doctor. Claire put that in your head. I snapped. She has been saying what she wants all week. Stop blaming me every time you don't like it. Tessa turned. Of course you love this. My temper returned immediately. Love what? Finally getting to be the good daughter in public. I stared. Tessa, no, you've wanted this forever. Wanted what? Mom to see what I am. Mom flinched. I said I wanted Mom to stop asking me to pretend I couldn't see it. Tessa went silent. Mark stepped between us. Everyone is emotional. Mom looked at him. You need to leave. June. Both of you. Tessa laughed. You're throwing me out. You live somewhere else. Our condo sold. That stopped everyone. Mom frowned. You sold your condo. Tessa looked at Mark. He answered. We were planning to move here temporarily. Mom stared. When? Once everything was settled. Monday. Silence. She understood. You sold your home because you thought I would never return to mine. Tessa began crying. You were going to assisted living eventually. Who decided? You can't keep doing everything alone. Who decided? Nobody answered. Mom looked at both of them. I spent 42 years in this house. Tessa wiped her face. And that's exactly why we were trying to keep it in the family. By putting your name on my mailbox. That was staging. By throwing away your father's things. Half of it was junk. Mom inhaled sharply. I stepped forward. She touched my arm. No. Then Mom said, get a hotel. Tessa laughed bitterly. You're putting your daughter in a hotel. You put your mother in a locked ward and visited once. Tessa stopped laughing. Mom looked exhausted. You can pack tonight. Mom, tonight. That evening they left. No police. No lawyers. No dramatic eviction. Just suitcases. Boxes. Mark's pickup. Tessa standing on this porch, looking as though somebody had changed the rules in the middle of a game she had been winning her entire life. Mom locked the door, then leaned against it. I thought she would cry. Instead, she said, I'm hungry. We ate grilled cheese at the half-empty dining table. Mrs. Gardner brought tomato soup. Aunt Paula arrived with a pie nobody touched. 4 women sat inside a house whose owner had attended her own memorial 6 hours earlier. Halfway through dinner, Aunt Paula began laughing. She tried to stop. That made Mom laugh. Then Mrs. Gardner. Then me. Within seconds, all 4 of us were laughing until tears came. Maybe there are moments so absurd the body gives up trying to choose the correct emotion. Afterward, Aunt Paula grew quiet. She looked at me. Claire. Yeah, I owe you an apology. I waited. I believed Tessa because what she said fit what I already thought. What did you think? That you were separate? Separate. You always had your own life. There it was again. Paula looked ashamed. We made independence sound like absence. I looked down. Mom reached under the table and squeezed my hand. Aunt Paula continued. Tessa posted. Tessa called. Tessa told everybody what she was doing. I said nothing. You didn't. No. And I think we confused being visible with being devoted. My throat tightened. How many weekends did I drive here when Dad was sick? Paula shook her head. I don't know. 47. I hated that I knew, but I did. How many appointments did I take Mom to last year? I don't know. 14. Paula closed her eyes. I'm sorry. I nodded. This time I didn't say it was fine. After everyone left, I slept in my childhood bedroom. Or tried. At 1 till 8 a.m. my phone rang. Tessa, I answered. What? Her voice was calm. You ruined my life today. No, you could have called me. You told me Mom was dead. You knew she wasn't. Yes, so you set me up. I sat up. I set you up by allowing you to continue lying. You wanted the church scene. I wanted you to stop. You could have stopped me privately. When? Before the memorial. You mean before you told everyone Mom died in your arms? Silence. You always do this. Do what? Make me sound crazy. Tessa, I don't have to. She inhaled sharply. Mark's company may collapse. I'm sorry. No, you're not. At that moment, she was right. You could help. I helped you last year. That was $6,000. I almost laughed. That sentence is why I'm never giving you money again. You said not to worry about paying you, because Mom asked me not to pressure you. Tessa went silent. Even then, Mom had been cushioning the fall. You have savings. So, you don't have kids. Neither do you. Mark's kids are my kids. Then Mark should support them. You hate him. I don't trust him. You never did. No. Why? Because every time you were resentful about Mom or me, he explained why you were right. She went quiet. Then, be careful what story people believe, Claire. The call ended. The next morning I understood. Tessa posted again. Yesterday was the most painful day of my life. My mother, who has experienced serious cognitive changes since surgery, was unexpectedly brought to her own memorial by a family member who has been isolating her for weeks. Out of respect for Mom's privacy, I will not share medical details. Please pray for her. That was all. No direct accusation. No name. No lie easy to disprove. Just fog. Some people defended Mom immediately. Others wrote, "Dementia can come and go. This is heartbreaking. Families dealing with memory issues need compassion. I hope nobody exploits June." That last one made me throw my phone onto the couch. Mom watched. Bad. She turned it around. "Let me see." "No, Claire." I handed her the phone. She read. Then said, "I want to see Dr. Keller, Mom's regular doctor. For Facebook. For me." We went that afternoon. Dr. Keller had known her 14 years. He reviewed everything, asked questions, repeated cognitive screening. Mom complained through most of it. "I know what year it is. Humor me. I'll bill Medicare for humor." He laughed. At the end, he said exactly what we already knew. The confusion had been post-operative delirium. Resolved. No evidence of advanced dementia. Mom was capable of making her own decisions. She did not request a written declaration. She did not ask for ammunition. She asked, "Can I drive?" "Short distances." She smiled. "Good." That evening, she sat at her kitchen table. Dad's Cardinals cap hung behind her. I held the phone. Mom looked directly into the camera. "My name is June Bennett, and apparently rumors of my death were premature." I laughed behind the phone. Mom gave me a look, then continued. "I had hip surgery. I developed an infection. I became confused for a short period. I recovered." She folded her hands. "I'm not ashamed that I was sick." Her voice softened. "I'm not ashamed that I needed help. Then, but getting older does not mean becoming public property." That was the one sentence people shared. Not the accusation. Not Tessa. That, Mom continued. If somebody you love is older, sick, frightened, or recovering, please remember that helping them does not mean replacing them. She ended the video. No mention of money. No diagnosis papers held up. No attack on Tessa. The video spread throughout Mom's community. Former students, teachers, church groups, neighbors, not millions. We did not become national news. It was more realistic than that. But locally, everyone who mattered saw it. And questions changed. Why did Tessa say June was dead? Why was the house being staged? Why were belongings removed? Why did Claire disappear from the memorial pictures? Why did nobody call June? Mom did something the next day that mattered more than the video. She changed the locks. A locksmith arrived at 9. He replaced 2 cylinders and gave Mom 4 keys. She handed one to me, one to Mrs. Gardner. Kept 2. That was it. Sometimes dignity does not look dramatic. Sometimes it is a 68-year-old woman standing in slippers while a locksmith makes sure her daughter can no longer enter without permission. We began putting the house back together. Dad's hat returned to the hook. Mom's books returned to the shelves. School awards went back. Photographs came out of boxes. Mrs. Gardner helped recover several pieces neighbors had bought innocently. 2 dining chairs, a brass lamp, a side table. Dad's red toolbox was gone. So was his recliner. Mom surprised me. "Good." "What?" "He hated that chair. He sat in it every night and complained every night." I laughed. I did. If Walter wanted it preserved, he should have bought a better chair. For the first time, Mom was beginning to separate memory from objects. That mattered. But one thing she insisted on restoring was the pantry trim. The piece with our heights. It could not be reinstalled neatly. Part had been damaged. so she hung it vertically on the wall near the kitchen. Not elegant, not staged. Hours. 1 week after the memorial, Mark arrived alone. He returned the 2 missing dining chairs. Peace offering. Mom looked at them. Who bought them? He sighed. A woman in Webster Groves. I'll bought them back. Yes. Good. I shifted. Then we talk? Mom looked at me. Stay. Mark sat. I looked tired. No company shirt. No sales voice. Business is bad, he said. Mom nodded. I gathered that. 3 jobs went sideways. I'm sorry. Materials went up. 2 clients stopped paying. Then I had to refund another. Mom waited. Mark rubbed his palms together. We were drowning. What does that have to do with me? He looked embarrassed. Tessa thought the house could solve it. My house. Yes, she came up with that. I hesitated. That was answer enough. Mom said, Mark. I told her you probably weren't coming back. I stared. There. I said the house was too much for you. Mom remained still. I told her Claire already had a good career and probably wouldn't care about the property. I felt my jaw tighten. He continued. I said it didn't make sense for a paid-off house to sit there while we were losing everything. Mom asked. Did you tell her to say I was dead? No. Did you know? Not until Monday night. The day before Claire's call. Yes. And what did you say? Mark looked at the floor. I told her it was insane. Did you stop her? No. Did you attend my memorial? Yes. Did you speak? His shoulders lowered. Yes. Mom nodded. Then you weren't dragged along. I looked at her. No. It was one of the few honest things he ever said to her. I helped. Mom sat back. Thank you. Mark blinked. For what? For saying it without putting it on my daughter. I looked toward the hallway. Then at me. There's something else. I knew immediately. What? Tessa used June's debit card. Mom's face changed. When? After the surgery. How much? I don't know. Mark. Maybe 8,009. Mom stared. What for? Groceries, house things. And, he hesitated. Personal expenses. What kind? Clothes, a couple hotel charges, some business deposits. Mom's voice became smaller. My card paid for your business. I paid some back. That wasn't my question. Mark looked away. Mom stood. Conversation over. Leave. June. No. He turned toward me. Claire, can I talk to you outside? No. You don't even know what I'm asking. Yes, I do. He frowned. You want someone to save you from Tessa because you think she'll blame you for telling us. His expression confirmed it. I continued. You spent years telling her she deserved more because I had more stability. Now you want that stable sister to protect you. He looked angry. You always think you're smarter. No, everybody does. Mark. What? You helped plan around my mother's house before she was ready to leave it. I'm not interested in your opinion of my personality. I left. Mom checked her bank statements. There were dozens of charges, small enough to overlook individually, large together. Furniture, restaurants, a bridal boutique, a department store, business supply payments, 1 hotel. Mom stopped at the department store charge. 2 days before the memorial, she looked at me. Tessa's dress. I don't know. She bought a dress for my memorial with my debit card. Maybe. Mom closed the laptop. I need to lie down. That was all. I wanted rage. She had sadness. That made it worse. The fundraiser money was easier. Mom contacted the platform. Most of what remained was returned. Some had been withdrawn. Mom covered the difference herself. I argued. You shouldn't. I know. Then don't. People gave because they cared about me. Tessa lied. I won't let her lie change what their kindness meant. Mom made a handwritten list of the amount she covered. At the top she wrote, Tessa, not for court, not a case, a reminder. I need to stop forgetting what forgiveness costs when I give it before anything changes. 3 weeks passed before Tessa came to the house. She knocked. That mattered. Mom opened the door. Tessa looked smaller. Jeans, no makeup, old sneakers. Then we talk. Mom let her in. We sat around the dining table. The restored chairs were back. For several minutes, nobody spoke. Then Tessa said, Mark left. Mom's face changed. When? 3 days ago. Where? I don't know. What happened? I took the money from the condo. Mom stared. All of it. Most. I was not surprised. Mark had been separating himself from Tessa emotionally the moment consequences arrived. When winning everything had been we. When losing everything became Tessa's idea. I had somewhere else to go, Tessa whispered. A woman. She nodded. Mom closed her eyes. How long? Apparently almost a year. No secret child. No second family. Nothing melodramatic. Just an affair. Restaurant receipts. Weekends Tessa believed were work trips. A storage unit where Mark had quietly moved tools. Plans to leave once he had enough money. The house had not been their shared dream. To Mark it was liquidity. To Tessa salvation. She had betrayed her mother partly to save a marriage her husband had already abandoned. Tessa cried. I ruined everything for him. Mom stayed seated. That was new. She said you rhymed things with him. Tessa looked up. Same difference. No. Mom's voice was quiet. I influenced you. He encouraged you, but he did not make the phone call. Tessa cried harder. I know. I didn't write the Facebook post. I know. I didn't tell Claire I died ashamed of her. Tessa covered her face. I know. Mom waited. Eventually Tessa whispered. That was me. The room went silent. I wanted her to stay away. I looked at her. Until Monday. She nodded. I thought if the listing was moving, if people already believed the house was mine, everything would be harder to undo. Mom asked. Why did you think I wouldn't come back? Because I convinced myself you couldn't. You saw me after the delirium cleared. Once. You spoke to my doctor. Yes. You knew. Tessa began crying again. I knew you were better. Mom waited. What? I needed the house. There. Not Mark. Not misunderstanding. I was angry. At me. At everybody. Tessa looked at me. You had the career. Then Mom. You had the house. Back to me. Dad trusted you. Then downward. Mark's business was collapsing. She laughed bitterly. And every time I looked at my life, I felt like everybody had something solid except me. I said, so you took Mom's. Tessa flinched. Yes. Mom's eyes filled. Tessa continued. I told myself you weren't using the house. Mom closed her eyes. I told myself you'd end up living somewhere easier. Did you ever ask what I wanted? No. Why? Tessa looked at her. Because I was afraid you'd say no. That might have been the most honest answer she ever gave. Mom nodded. So you killed me instead. Tessa sobbed. Not like that. No, I didn't think of it as killing you. How did you think of it? A story. Mom stared. A story. A temporary story. To get the house. Tessa nodded. Mom leaned back. I spent 39 years explaining your behavior. Mom. No, listen. Her voice did not sound powerful now. It sounded heartbroken. When you quit school, I explained. When you borrowed money, I explained. When you hurt Claire, I explained. When your relationships failed, I explained. When you yelled, I explained. She looked at me. And every time I explained you, I asked Claire to understand. My throat tightened. Mom turned back to Tessa. I made one daughter responsible for surviving the other. Tessa went still. Mom rubbed her hands. I did that. Nobody spoke. It was not a victory. It was accountability spreading in more than one direction. After a while, Tessa whispered, I have nowhere to live. There it was. The old moment. The place where Mom always softened. Tessa looked around. I can stay in the guest room. Mom closed her eyes. I remained silent. Then she opened them. No. Tessa stared. What? No. I'm your daughter. Yes. You just said you made mistakes. I did. So I'm trying not to repeat them. Tessa looked stunned. You're going to let me be homeless? No. What would you call it? You have a job. My business is gone. Then get another job. I don't have savings. You have enough for a few weeks. And after that, Mom slid a piece of paper across the table. Aunt Paula had found a modest month-to-month apartment near Tessa's neighborhood. I will pay the deposit directly. Tessa stared at it. That's humiliating. No. Mom shook her head. Starting over is not humiliating. You get to stay here. This is my house. That hurt. It needed to. Tessa picked up the paper. What if I can't rebuild? Mom looked at her. You can. How do you know? Mom glanced at me. Because your sister isn't the only Bennett who knows how to stand up. Tessa looked at me. For once her expression held no obvious hatred, just exhaustion. She left with the paper. Mom did not chase her. That was the true turning point. Not the memorial. The closed door afterward. 8 months passed before Mom invited Tessa to dinner again. 8 months. Not 8 days. Not Christmas immediately. Consequences needed time to become real. During those months, Tessa moved into the small apartment, sold the Mercedes, started driving a used Honda Civic. Her wedding planning business collapsed quietly. Some clients canceled after hearing about the memorial. Some simply disappeared. Tessa initially blamed me, then stopped. She took an office job at a local event venue. Regular hours, regular paycheck, no Instagram brand, no luxury image, no mom paying emergency bills. Mark's company shut down. No dramatic arrest, no courtroom, no FBI. Just unpaid suppliers, unfinished jobs, equipment sold, angry customers, and a man discovering that charm does not substitute for solvency forever. His girlfriend did not stay with him either. I found that mildly satisfying. Mostly he disappeared from our family. Mom saw a therapist. That surprised me. She told me only after the third appointment. What do you talk about? You. Great. Tessa. Better. Your father. I smiled. She says I confuse helping with preventing discomfort. Your therapist. Yes. Smart woman. Annoying woman. Mom learned to let Tessa be upset without immediately fixing the reason. I learned something too. Being angry did not make me cruel. Being hurt did not make me weak. And being capable did not mean I had to volunteer as the emotional shock absorber for everyone else. The first dinner with Tessa happened in February. Nothing symbolic. Just Sunday. Mom made roast chicken. I brought wine. Tessa arrived with supermarket flowers and a store-bought pie. She knocked. Mom let her in. At first, everything was painfully polite. How's work? Fine. How was the drive? Fine. You want potatoes? Yes. Then Tessa noticed the pantry trim hanging near the kitchen. Our heights. She stared. I forgot Dad did that. I didn't, I said. She touched a pencil mark. Tessa Truthine. God, I was tall. You were unbearable. I was 13. Same thing. She almost smiled. Later, she noticed the photograph from Dad's birthday. The uncropped version. Dad in the middle. Tessa on one side. Me on the other. Tessa looked at it. Then at me. I shouldn't have cropped you. No, I was angry. I know. I wanted people to think. She stopped. What? That I was the one who mattered. There it was. Not who helped more. Who mattered. I asked, did me mattering feel like you mattered less? She looked down. Sometimes. For the first time, I understood something without excusing it. Tessa had grown up receiving more help but never feeling secure. I had grown up receiving less because everyone assumed I was secure. Both stories hurt us differently. Only one of us had turned that hurt into a fake memorial. Understanding remained separate from absolution. During dinner, Mom burned the rolls. Tessa laughed. You still refuse to use a timer. I don't need machinery telling me how to cook. It's a clock. Exactly. For 20 minutes, we were a normal family. Then Tessa saw Dad's pearls around Mom's neck. She looked away. Mom noticed. Neither said anything. After dinner, Tessa helped wash dishes. I dried. She handed me a plate. I still get angry at you. Thanks. I'm serious. I assumed. You make things look easy. They're not. I know that now. You could have asked. She nodded. That would have ruined the story. What story? That you didn't need anybody. I put the plate down. She continued. I needed that to be true. Why? Because if you needed Mom too, then I was taking something from you. I stared. For once, Tessa had found the truth before I did. She whispered. And I didn't want to know that. We went back to washing dishes. No hug. No miraculous reconciliation. Better. A few months later, Mom decided to sell the Table Rock cabin. Tessa was horrified. You're selling it? Yes. But Dad loved it. So did I. Then why? Mom laughed. The porch leans. The roof needs work. I go twice a year. You threw us out for trying to sell the house. Mom stared at her. I threw you out for preparing to sell my house while telling people I was dead. Tessa had no answer. Mom sold the cabin. Not because Tessa wanted it. Because June decided. That difference became the whole point. She used some of the money to renovate the downstairs bathroom. Walk-in shower. Grab bars. Better lighting. She donated part to the school library. Saved part. Nothing extravagant. No revenge spending. No dramatic new life. Just choices. Her choices. One evening, almost 18 months after the memorial, Mom and I sat on the porch. A summer storm had passed. The street smelled like wet pavement. Across the road, a father was teaching his daughter to ride a bicycle. Mom watched. Your dad would have lost his mind over all of this. At Tessa. At me first. I laughed. Probably, I told me. What? That I protected her too much. I remember. Mom turned. You remember, I heard you fighting once. She closed her eyes. Of course you did. I heard Dad say I noticed. Mom looked down. I'm sorry. I know. No. She faced me. I spent years believing the child who asked for less needed less. My throat tightened. You didn't mean to. I know. She paused. That doesn't make it free. That was one of the few therapy sentences I was glad she kept. Mom looked toward the mailbox. June Bennett. Do you know what hurt most? The memorial. No. Dad's things. No. Money. She shook her head. My name. I already knew. The mailbox. Yes. She looked at the brass plate. When I saw their name there, I realized they had started speaking about me in the past tense before I was gone. I said nothing. Mom continued. People do that to older people. What? Start making decisions around them instead of with them. She took a sip of iced tea. What should we do with Mom's house Dad shouldn't drive? Grandma won't understand. She doesn't need all that space. She shrugged. Sometimes they're right. Sometimes. But needing help isn't the same as becoming luggage. I looked at her. That one's good. I know. Therapy. No librarian. I laughed. That Christmas we ate dinner in the Kirkwood house. Mom, me, Tessa, Aunt Paula, Mrs. Gardner, 2 cousins. No Mark. No speeches. No perfect photographs. Tessa burned the gravy. Mom complained. I said it tasted fine. Both of them told me that was why nobody trusted my cooking opinions. After dinner I noticed Tessa staring at the old pantry trim. What? She smiled faintly. Do you remember the nail polish? What nail polish? Her smile widened. Oh my God. Then I remembered. She spilled red nail polish on the dining table when she was 11. Blamed me. I was 7. You did that. You cried immediately. I was 7. You were very convincing. You are horrible. Mom laughed so hard she nearly spilled her coffee. For a few minutes, the past became something we could touch without bleeding. Then Tessa grew quiet. Claire. Yeah, I'm sorry. The room changed. I looked at her. For what? She swallowed. A lot. I could have made her list it. The fake call. The memorial. The money. The photographs. Dad's things. The years of making my independence proof I loved less. But I didn't need the inventory anymore. I know. That did not mean forgotten. It did not even mean fully forgiven. It meant I no longer needed her humiliation to validate my pain. Later, after everyone left, Mom and I sat by the Christmas tree. Outside, light snow had begun to fall. The house was quiet. Dad's old travel mug sat on the shelf. His Cardinals cap remained by the garage. The restored family photograph hung beside the kitchen. Nobody cropped out. Mom looked toward this front window. You know, it really is just a nameplate. I followed her gaze toward the mailbox. June Bennett. No. She looked at me. It's yours. Mom smiled. Then she reached for my hand. For years I thought legacy meant what someone left behind. A house, money, property, objects. I was wrong. Legacy is also what people learn from the way you let them treat you. For years, Mom accidentally taught Tessa that love would always rescue her before consequences arrived. For years, our family taught me that strength meant I should need less. Neither lesson was fair. Both had to end. The house was still Mom's. But someday it wouldn't be. The cabin was already gone. Dad's recliner was gone. Most of his tools were gone. None of that erased him, because legacy was never the furniture. It was Dad teaching me how to change a tire in the rain. Mom keeping granola bars for hungry kids. Our heights in pencil. The way a family dinner could still be awkward and worth attending. The right to say no without believing love had disappeared. The understanding that blood gives someone a relationship with you, not ownership of you. Mom squeezed my hand. To being alive, she said. I raised my glass. To being inconveniently alive. She laughed. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. Tessa. A photograph of the ruined gravy. Underneath. Mom survived her own memorial but may not survive my cooking. Mom, read it. She's not wrong. I typed. Tell the deceased to make her own gravy next year. 3 dots appeared. Then, she says, mind your business. I laughed. 1 year earlier, that same phone had carried the words, "Mom died last night." Now it carried a stupid joke. The joke did not erase what happened. Nothing should. Healing is not pretending the wound never existed. Forgiveness is not amnesia. Family is not permission. And being strong does not mean being invisible. I looked at Mom. She was watching the snow. Her name was still beside the door. My photograph was still on the wall. Tessa had her own apartment, her own job, her own bills, and for the first time in her adult life, consequences that truly belonged to her. Nobody had won everything. That was probably why the ending finally felt real. Mom had her voice. I had my place. And Tessa slowly, painfully had begun learning that being loved by a family does not mean the family must disappear so you can feel important. If my sister called tomorrow and told me Mom had died again, I think I would do exactly what I did that Tuesday morning. I would look across the room, make sure Mom was still there, and smile. Only now I'd hand her the phone. Because if my mother taught us anything after attending her own memorial, it was this: nobody gets to tell the final story of your life while you are still alive enough to tell it yourself. And if you had been in my place, what would you have done? Would you have walked into that memorial with your mother? Would you have confronted your sister sooner? And when someone you love repeatedly crosses the line between needing help and believing they are entitled to your life, how many chances should family get before dignity has to come first?